All right, strap in, everyone. Today, we are diving deep into some intense esoteric stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram.
Big one.
This ritual comes straight from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
a magical order founded in the late 19th century.
Wow.
And it's about as hands-on as magic gets.
You can say that again?
You've given us an excerpt detailing the steps and their meaning.
I did.
And just glancing over it, I'm seeing some really intriguing elements.
Like what?
We're talking specific tools like wands, elemental weapons,
Oh, yeah.
tracing pentagrams, invoking powerful archangels, even using Hebrew names of God. What jumps out at you?
Well, the precision and structure of this ritual are just fascinating. It's not some free-flowing improvisational thing.
Right.
This is meticulously crafted, like a blueprint.
Oh, wow.
Almost like a recipe for interacting with the divine
Interesting.
and for harnessing spiritual energies.
So let's break down this recipe then, step by step. What's the first ingredient, so to speak?
Well, it all starts facing east. The source mentions performing the Kabbalistic cross first,
Okay.
which is basically a symbolic gesture to invoke divine energy
Right.
and establish a connection with higher realms.
I see.
Then you trace pentagrams for each element.
Earth, air, fire, and water.
That's right.
Okay.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh.
The instructions are incredibly specific.
Uh-huh.
There are invoking pentagrams and there are passive pentagrams. Specific words to be vibrated,
Wow.
sigils to be traced, divine names to be intoned.
It sounds pretty complicated.
It's like each element has its own unique combination lock,
Okay.
and you're using these very precise actions to unlock its power.
So it's not just waving your hands around and saying magic words.
No.
There's a real science to it, a method to the madness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to enhance this connection even further,
Yeah.
the ritual calls for specific tools.
Right, you mentioned wands and elemental weapons earlier.
Yes.
And the source lists several types. The Hierophant's wand, the Lotus wand, the Chief Oedipus wand in the portal, the Uruwachti, even the 4 elemental weapons.
There are a lot.
What do you make of all these options?
Yeah.
If I were stepping into this magical chef's kitchen, I'd want to know why I might choose one tool over another.
Of course.
Is it like using a whisk versus a spatula?
Yeah.
Does each one serve a specific purpose?
That's a great way to think about it.
Thanks.
Unfortunately, the source doesn't get into detail about why you might choose one wand over another.
Oh, okay.
But we can speculate that each tool likely holds its own specific symbolism and purpose within the ritual.
Right.
Perhaps certain tools are associated with specific elements,
I see.
or maybe even specific levels of initiation within the Golden Dawn.
That makes sense. And speaking of elements, I'm also curious about the emphasis on directions.
Oh, yeah.
East, south, west, north. Each direction seems to hold specific significance in this ritual.
You're absolutely right. In many esoteric traditions, directions are associated with specific elements and archangels.
Huh?
East is often linked with air, south with fire, west with water, and north with earth. Each direction also have a corresponding archangel, which brings us to another key ingredient in this magical recipe, the invocation of powerful archangels.
That's where it starts to feel like something straight out of a fantasy novel.
I know, right?
We're talking about Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel.
Some serious heavy hitters in the angelic world.
Yeah. What's the significance of invoking them in this ritual?
Well, imagine yourself the center of a compass facing east.
Okay.
As you move through the ritual, you trace pentagrams and vibrate specific words in each direction,
Yeah.
calling upon a specific archangel to stand at that point.
Oh, wow.
In the east, you invoke Raphael, traditionally associated with healing.
Okay.
As you move south, you call upon Michael, the warrior angel who embodies strength and protection.
All right.
To the west, you summon Gabriel, the messenger of God, often linked with communication and revelation.
And finally, in the north.
In the north, you call upon Uriel, the angel of wisdom and knowledge.
So you're not just surrounded by elemental energies, but also by these powerful angelic beings.
Exactly.
It creates a sense of being enveloped in a potent and multifaceted spiritual force field.
Precisely. But before we dive deeper into the specific roles and attributes of these archangels,
Okay.
let's talk about another intriguing aspect of the ritual,
Which is...
the use of Hebrew names of God.
Right. The source mentions vibrating these names throughout the ritual.
It does.
And I'm curious about their significance.
Of course.
Are they just random words, or is there something more to them?
Oh, they're far from random.
Okay.
In Kabbalah, each Hebrew name of God represents a specific aspect of the divine,
Uh-huh.
a particular emanation of divine energy.
Interesting.
Vibrating these names is believed to invoke those specific energies.
So it's like tuning into a specific frequency.
Yes.
Tapping into a particular aspect of the divine power.
Exactly. And to further amplify these invocations,
Yeah.
the ritual utilizes powerful visual symbols.
You mean the pentagrams themselves?
I do.
I was wondering when we'd get to those.
I figured you would.
They're so iconic, so visually striking.
They are.
But I imagine there's a lot more to them than meets the eye, right?
Absolutely. In Western esotericism, pentagrams are potent symbols.
Oh.
They represent the 5 elements, the human microcosm, and the interconnectedness of all things,
I did not know that.
and the specific sigils drawn within them,
Right.
each associated with a particular element, further amplify their meaning.
Okay.
They act as visual representations of the forces being invoked.
It's like each element of this ritual is carefully chosen and layered with meaning.
Exactly. It's a complex tapestry of symbolism, ritual actions, and invocation,
Wow.
all woven together to achieve a specific spiritual goal.
And that goal, as we'll explore further, is the heart of what makes this ritual so fascinating. Okay, before we jump into that,
Yeah.
I want to make sure our listener is still with us. We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
The steps of the ritual, the tools, the directions, the archangels, the divine names, and the pentagrams. You might be wondering, where does all this lead? What's the point of all this intricate symbolism and meticulous action?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's where we move from simply describing the ritual to understanding its deeper purpose.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's dive into the why behind the what.
The key really lies in the name itself. The Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram.
Right.
It's not just about passively acknowledging these divine energies.
I see.
It's about actively calling them forth, drawing them into oneself.
Ah, so it's not a casual meet and greet with the archangels.
No.
It's more like inviting them to take up residence within you.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Thanks.
In many magical traditions, invocation is all about creating a deep connection between the practitioner and the divine, allowing those energies to flow through and empower the individual.
And you were saying before about Raphael representing healing,
Yes.
Michael's strength, Gabriel as the messenger,
Yes.
and Uriel illuminating knowledge.
Exactly.
It's starting to click why you wouldn't just want them around you, but almost as you.
Exactly.
Wow.
The practitioner is seeking to cultivate those very qualities within themselves, tapping into their power and wisdom.
So it's not just asking for external help.
Yeah.
They're trying to awaken those forces within.
That's the idea.
Okay, I'm getting chills just thinking about that.
I bet.
It's like taking on the mantle of an archangel,
Right.
even if just a sliver of their essence. No pressure, right?
Well, it's certainly not for the faint of heart,
I can imagine.
but it really speaks to the transformative potential of this ritual.
I see.
It's not just about performing a series of actions.
Right.
It's about actively shaping oneself, becoming more aligned with the divine.
And if we connect this back to the Golden Dawn,
Yeah.
their whole thing was about spiritual development and accessing hidden knowledge.
Exactly.
This ritual seems like a perfect fit for that.
Absolutely.
The Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram is a tool for self-transformation. A way to align oneself with the divine and access the power and wisdom of these archangels.
It is.
Makes you wonder about the practitioners themselves.
It does.
What kind of mindset did they need to even attempt something like this?
You know, speaking of mindset,
Yeah.
something's been nagging at me.
Oh.
We keep saying vibrating these divine names.
Right.
What does that even mean?
Good question.
Is it chanting, singing, or something else entirely?
Yeah, what is vibrating?
Well, that's a great question.
Thanks.
And it gets to the heart of how sound is used in magical practices.
Okay.
Vibrating a divine name isn't just saying it out loud.
Right.
It's about imbuing the word with intention and energy. Almost like you're sending a focused vibration out into the universe.
So it's more than just pronunciation. It's about the feeling behind the word, the intent you pour into it.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it's believed that these specific vibrations, they resonate with the energies those names represent, creating a kind of sympathetic connection.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Okay.
It's like dialing a cosmic phone number with your voice.
I like that analogy.
And the archangel's on the other end waiting for the call.
Right. And speaking of dialing into different levels,
Okay.
remember that note in the source about substituting LVX signs for portal signs?
Ah, yes.
The secret handshake, level up within the Golden Dawn.
Right. What do those signs actually look like, and what makes them so distinct?
Think of them as specific gestures,
Okay.
postures, or hand movements that hold symbolic meaning.
So like a physical language.
Yeah.
So a way of embodying spiritual concepts or states of being.
Exactly.
So the LVX signs and the portal signs are like different levels of fluency in this language, reflecting the practitioner's depth of understanding.
Exactly.
Interesting.
The LVX signs associated with a higher grade within the Golden Dawn
Right.
suggest a deeper level of esoteric knowledge, a more nuanced grasp of these concepts.
Okay.
The source material doesn't actually go into detail about the specific gestures themselves.
Oh, right.
But it's clear they hold significant meaning for those who practice this ritual.
It's like there's a hidden choreography to this whole thing.
I know, right?
A dance of symbols and gestures that only initiates could fully understand.
Exactly.
Makes me wonder if we're even scratching the surface of all the layers embedded in this tradition.
You're right, there's always more to uncover.
That's true.
But that's what makes exploring these esoteric traditions so fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
Each detail, each symbol, each step is like a doorway, leading to a deeper understanding.
You know, I have to admit, this is all incredibly captivating, but I'm also feeling a bit overwhelmed.
I can understand that.
There's so much information.
Yeah.
So much symbolism.
That could be a lot.
Where does someone even begin to wrap their head around all of this?
That's a very valid point. It can feel like drinking from a fire hose of esoteric knowledge.
It really does.
The key is to not try to grasp everything at once.
Okay.
Start with what resonates with you, what sparks your interest. Perhaps you're drawn to the archangels.
Right.
Or maybe the symbolism of the pentagrams speaks to you.
I see.
Explore those elements and let your curiosity guide you.
So instead of trying to swallow the whole mystical enchilada in one bite,
Exactly.
I should savor each ingredient.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
And who knows, maybe that one ingredient will lead you to discover a whole new flavor profile you never knew existed.
You never know.
Speaking of discovering new things,
Yeah.
there's one more element of this ritual that I think deserves our attention.
Okay, lay it on me.
What else have we missed in this mystical recipe? It's something we've hinted at throughout our deep dive,
Okay.
but we haven't explicitly addressed it yet.
Which is?
The question of what the practitioners actually experienced during this ritual.
Oh, that's interesting.
What did it feel like to invoke these archangels, to vibrate those divine names,
Right.
to stand at the center of this magical vortex?
That's a really good point.
It is, isn't it?
We've talked about the mechanics of the ritual,
Yeah.
but what about the internal subjective experience?
Uh-huh.
What was the point of all this effort?
That's where we move from the realm of theory into the realm of practice.
Okay.
And it's perhaps the most fascinating
Right.
and elusive aspect of this whole deep dive.
It's like we've been studying the blueprints
Yeah.
and ingredients for this incredible magical feast,
Uh-huh.
but we haven't actually tasted it yet.
Right.
What was the point of setting this elaborate table?
Well, that's where things get really tricky,
How so?
because we're talking about subjective experiences.
Right.
The source material focuses on the instructions,
Yeah.
not on personal accounts.
Okay.
But we can draw some insights from what we do know.
What's that?
Remember, the Golden Dawn wasn't just about spells and rituals. It was a school of esoteric thought,
A full-on system.
a path of spiritual development.
So maybe the point wasn't about achieving some external goal, like winning the lottery with a magic spell.
Right.
It was about the internal transformation itself.
That's a very insightful observation.
Thanks.
Think about what we've discussed.
Yeah.
Invoking archangels, vibrating divine names, tracing pentagrams, surrounding yourself with elemental energies.
It's a lot.
If you believed these things held real power, wouldn't that profoundly affect how you saw yourself in the world?
It'd be like stepping into a superhero suit,
Yes.
but instead of gaining super strength,
Right.
you're gaining a heightened awareness of the divine,
Uh-huh.
a deeper connection to these forces that supposedly shape reality.
Exactly.
Oh.
And with that shift in perspective
Okay.
comes a different way of engaging with the world,
Interesting.
a different way of being. That's the essence of transformation.
So the ritual itself might have been a catalyst for that change.
Yeah.
A way to kickstart the process of aligning oneself with those divine qualities.
Exactly.
Makes me wonder if different practitioners had different experiences, depending on their beliefs, their intentions, even their personality.
That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have access to those personal accounts.
Too bad.
But we can imagine that the experience might have varied wildly.
Right.
Some might have felt a surge of energy.
Okay.
Others a profound sense of peace.
I see.
And some might have even had visions or mystical experiences.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
It is, right?
It really highlights how this ritual wasn't just about rote memorization and following instructions.
It wasn't just going through the motions.
Right.
It required a level of inner work,
Okay.
of personal engagement, to truly unlock its potential.
So, while we may never know exactly what it felt like to perform the Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram,
Right.
we can appreciate the dedication, the intentionality, and the deep desire for connection that drove these practitioners.
And perhaps that's the most valuable takeaway for our listener today.
Which is?
Whether or not you believe in the literal power of magic,
Okay.
this ritual offers a glimpse into the human longing for something beyond ourselves. For a deeper connection to the mysteries of the universe.
It also reminds us that the path to self-discovery and transformation can take many forms.
Absolutely.
Some more elaborate and ritualistic than others.
For sure.
The key is to find what resonates with you, what sparks that inner fire.
I like that.
And to approach it with curiosity, respect, and an open mind.
Well said.
Thanks.
Yeah. And perhaps that's a good note to end on.
Okay.
We've explored the mechanics of the ritual.
We did.
The symbolism, the historical context, and even delved into the potential subjective experiences.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the meaning and significance of the Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram is something each individual must discover for themselves.
Yes, it's like we've given our listener the map and the compass.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
But the journey is theirs to take.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the Golden Dawn.
You're welcome.
And their intriguing ritual magic.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep